Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. The regular COVID-19 deaths, coupled with the new funeral protocols, contribute to a pile-up of bodies at Jamaica's morgues. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 3rd September 2021. Details when we return.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
Welcome back. Jamaica's funeral home bursting at the seams with COVID bodies. Shamila Pullin of TVJ News reports.
We begin this evening with another crisis brought on by the recent spike in COVID-19 cases. First, hospitals across the island have been struggling to cope with the unbearable number of COVID cases, and now the nation's morgues trying to cope with the rise in COVID deaths. Funeral home operators say the high number of COVID-19 deaths and the no-movement days, which reduce the number of days for burials, are putting a huge strain on their operations. Now, we must caution viewers that this may be a difficult story to watch. However, TVJ News felt it important to illustrate the gravity of the current situation. Here's Shamila Pullin.
Outside the Honeygan's funeral home in Westmoreland, a new storage facility has arrived. This is where the bodies of some of the people who died from COVID-19 will be stored. This because the storage inside the funeral home is nearing capacity. The workers seen here are trying to make space, a task which takes some level of creativity and precision.
We are transfer from one fridge to the other. We don't want to mix the COVID with the others dead.
Okay.
So we are look, if not in our fridge also, a COVID, then we remove all COVID to COVID fridge. And normal dead to normal fridge.
Oh, so now you have to clear fridge just for COVID?
Yes, just for COVID dead. Worse, never see.
Tell me about it.
But every kid.
Why you say the worst?
But I am other people who have died through COVID. We want to know who are going.
So you get called to like pick them up at the hospital, or you just...
Both yard and hospital. Both yard and hospital. But hospital is the most we pick up COVID.
Owner of the funeral home, Melvin Honeygan, says the situation in the West is unprecedented.
When we sit and look, we have numerous amounts of wives and husbands, brothers and sisters, mothers and daughters to be buried together now. And when I turn around also and I listen to my friends, so many of my friends are going to sleep with the Lord. Last week, we had to go to Falmouth 4 days in a row to pick up remains. And most of these bodies are COVID bodies.
And the lockdowns are not making it any easier, as several burials have had to be pushed back.
The time frame that we are now being given to burial, I think is rather rough and tough. I don't know how we are going to manage. Remember now, we have moved from Monday to Friday up to Wednesday to Friday. So that has now creating more chaos.
The funeral home has also had to double up on personal protective equipment.
In the early stages, I said I could not handle them because we did not have any equipment. But we are now equipped, and material, PPE, are locally available in Jamaica now, so we can have much more ease to go with it.
Other funeral homes in the West are facing similar challenges, but when we reached out to them, they declined to comment on camera. The country has so far recorded more than 1,000 COVID-19 related deaths. It is hoped that with the increased interest in vaccinations and the current lockdowns, things will slow down soon. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
The Royal Barbados Police Force is set to receive a major boost in its crime-fighting efforts from Interpol. Details in this Barbados Today news item.
This was revealed by Executive Director of Police Services at Interpol, Stephen Kavanagh, at a brief ceremony today to mark the establishment of the Interpol Liaison Office here in Barbados. Kavanagh says local and regional law enforcement agencies will benefit significantly from its databases.
So part of my role here is to actually help the law enforcement and the partners around it understand how they get the best value out of Interpol. Because my job is no longer about me. My job is about supporting Colonel Jones, the Commissioner, the Minister, in making sure that they can be as effective as possible. And the reality is, my time in policing, the world has changed. Data, when you talked about forensics, when I joined the police, it was about fingerprints. Then DNA came on board. But now digital footprints, data, are the way that we will understand where those drug dealers, where those organised criminals, those money launderers, child abusers are sitting. And we have the data to connect Barbados to Korea to South Africa. And that's a unique opportunity, and it's an exciting one for the Royal Barbados Police Force.
There has been an alarming increase of COVID-19 among pregnant women in Trinidad and Tobago. More in this CCHt news report.
68 pregnant women have been infected with COVID-19 in the past week. Director of Women's Health, Dr. Adesh Singh, says the figure jumped from 315 last week to 383 as of Monday. He reminds that the Pfizer vaccine has been available to pregnant women since last Wednesday and hopes they will seize the opportunity to get vaccinated.
Persons in the second half of pregnancy, those with comorbidities, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, tend to be the ones who may get more ill. Of the patients we've had so far, approximately 3% ended up in the HDU or ICU. Most of these would have been in the latter stages of pregnancy.
Dr. Singh says side effects experienced by pregnant women after taking the vaccine is not much different to that experienced by the general population.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
A former Castries Central MP has taken issue with the government of St. Lucia, placing a 24-hour lockdown on Sunday and not on other days of the week. According to Mrs. Sarah Flood-Bobran, Sunday is a holy day, and the lockdown prevents worshippers from engaging in their religious obligations. More in this DBS News World news item.
Sunday, August 5th, has been designated as a no-movement day with a 24-hour lockdown as part of the adjusted protocols announced on August 27th in a bid to curb the spiraling COVID numbers. Former Castries Central MP Sarah Flood-Bobran, however, has taken issue with this move, contending that the 24-hour lockdown on Sunday desecrates the sanctity of the day.
I have to say that I sat in church yesterday, and when the holy priest announced what the new regulations were for Sundays, that I could not say amen. And again, when I sat at Mass this morning at Rosalie, the disquiet in me increased. And so I'm here to talk about the fact that our government finds it wise to decree to reclassify Sunday. Sunday a holy day of obligation. Sunday set aside for the preaching of the gospel, that our government would decree that Sunday is disease spreading day in St. Lucia.
Flood Bobre has questioned why a full-day lockdown was not set on the other 6 days of the week and has asked the government to provide data to back up their decision.
Don't get me wrong. I am completely in support of all efforts that will reduce the spread of the COVID pandemic in St. Lucia. And I would encourage all St. Lucians to be law-abiding. Don't get me wrong. But I would like to understand which science says that Sunday is the day when COVID is spread in St. Lucia.
The former MP, who considers herself a devout Catholic, has called out the leader of her denomination and other Christian churches to speak out against the move.
Archbishop Robert Rivas of the Catholic Church, my faith that I practice and I hold very dearly, I would like you to help me in my disquiet. The bishops of all the churches in St. Lucia, Pentecostals, Evangelicals, Baptists, the gospel-preaching churches, the bishops and pastors and monsignors and priests and professed religious and persons who have publicly declared themselves to be devoted for the preaching of the gospel of Christ, please explain to me which science has decreed that Sunday is disease spreading day.
Until September 7th, the curfew will run on weekdays from 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. On Saturday, September 4th, the curfew will begin at 4 p.m. and continue into a 24-hour curfew on Sunday, September 5th, which ends at 4 a.m. Monday, September 6th. For the DBS News World, I am St. Romulus.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre says St. Lucia is in a financial mess, with the country mired in nearly $4 billion in debt. The SLP administration, which assumed office just 1 month ago, has vowed to apprise citizens of the true state of the national economy and the public finances in an address to the nation. Solange Alfred of HTS News Force reports.
The finances of the country are in a mess.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre makes no bones about St. Lucia's fiscal position. Outside the House of Parliament on Tuesday, Pierre says a statement will soon be made to provide an overall picture of St. Lucia's current fiscal standing.
At some point very soon, I'll be addressing the nation, tell them what we found. We do not want to enter into the business of coming to government and creating any panic. But I can tell you, the country is near $4 billion of debt.
The Prime Minister notes that the island has below-the-line debt. Below-the-line items can include expenses like tax, interest, operating expenses, and other extraordinary expenses. Pierre says the island's debt needs serious intervention and streamlining.
We've got some, what is called below-the-line debt of over $120 million. So the country's financial position is one that we have to look into, and we have to very cautiously tread. The Huanero Airport is $186 million worth of debt. US dollars worth of debt, right? What do we want to do? We want to find ways of whether we can re-engineer that debt, whether we can restructure that debt to remove the burden from the people of St. Lucia and cause us to get some more fiscal space.
Pierre says that the HIA project, though under review, will not be halted by his administration.
So the previous argument was, well, it's a SLASPA loan, so it's not going to... No, that argument was incorrect. That loan is a contingent liability, and the people of St. Lucia will be called upon to pay it at some point, if SLASPA has any issues. But it's a contingent liability, and it enters into the debt of the government.
The Minister for Finance says The restructuring aims to ensure that the best possible fiscal latitude is created to enable the government to establish new projects. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.